Hi, everybody. Let me know when you can see me. Aha. I think I'm live. Welcome, everybody. I always just wait a sec to make sure you can hear me, you can see me, you can hear me. Excellent. Let me know if you can hear me too. That's always the next step. So great to see so many familiar faces here on what for many of us was a crazy day. I know a lot of us were probably watching the news or listening to the news a bit today as we were going around with our lives. And I'm happy to give us all this break at the end of the day. Let's see. There's so much to tell you. I have lists, as always. I like to start with an introduction. I see everybody saying hello in the chat thread. For those of you that have never done a YouTube live with me before, I am streaming to you live and people are chatting in the chat box. I try not to read the chat box too much while I'm talking because I'm I'm distractible so easily. You guys probably, those of you who know me know that about me. So I try not to read the chat box. If you're asking questions in the chat box, I probably won't see them. I might glance over and see one or two, but I can't promise one way or another that I will see them. I'm going to introduce you guys to me for those of you who've not met me before, and then I'm going to dive right in with a big long list to tell you tonight. Notices go out for people going live right as I go live, which is why I always kind of waste a little time at the very beginning for people who are getting that notice and then joining in. So, hi, everybody. My name is Laura Nelkin, and I am joined by my alter ego, Lola. For those of you who don't know, my roommate from boarding school had a son when we were both 19, and he couldn't pronounce Laura. And so he used to call me Lola, and that nickname has just stuck with me over the years. Lola's a little more fun than I am. Laura can be a little bit serious, and Lola has a pretty spicy I would say, sense of humor sometimes. And so she's going to join me and keep things fun. It looks like somebody else just joined us. She's going to get really mad at me in a second. So Buffy will just say hello super quickly. She likes that. I think she's been sleeping in my daughter's bed all day today and has just come down for her evening time. She likes when she can hear me talking on Zoom or YouTube. So tonight, one thing I want to remind you guys, if you're not subscribed to my channel, to go ahead and subscribe. I always forget to remind you to do that. If you subscribe to my channel and you click that little bell thing, that means you'll get alerts when new videos come out or I am going live. So that's a great way to stay with me. If Buffy could talk right now, I wonder what she would say to you guys. Look at her. She looks super uncomfortable. I love you. Love you very much. We all love Buffy. She'll be back like 7 more times, I'm sure. The first and most importantly, I just want to reach out to everybody and acknowledge what an intense time we are all experiencing together. And I know that that we knit together and that we are here for knitting. And it's one of the things I knit because it keeps me sane. And I talked about this a little bit in my email that went out today. But I know that we're so much more than knitters. We're people and we're experiencing, if you're from the States, we are experiencing a time that is, in my mind, unprecedented and scary, and it's turbulent, and we're all sharing that experience together. And so I don't want you to think that I'm ignoring that when I'm not talking about the hard stuff. This is a break for me. It's a break for you. And it's not a break in that we are not paying attention to what is going on. And I hope you are paying attention. I hope you are making sure that your senators and your congressmen know how you feel. I hope that you are getting the vaccine so that we can all enter life back as we know it again. My in-laws actually managed to get appointments to get the vaccine this weekend, and I am thrilled for them. But just know that I am here and I am always thinking and I'm concerned and I adore you guys. And knitting is the way we found each other and we connect together. And I'm not going to let that go, but I'm not going to put those other things aside and pretend that they don't exist. I hope that makes sense to you. It makes sense to me. I'm not always the best at verbalizing the hard things. It's really easy for me to talk about knitting well. So always ask me questions if you have any. Lots of things to talk about. One thing to go over at the beginning of this is Lola's Choice. So Lola's Choice, for those of you who don't know, I know many of you do, is my small knitted kit club. And Lola's Choice shipped at the beginning of last week. Normally, if I was doing a log like 10 days later after shipping, I would go ahead and talk about the kit right away, but I'm going to wait and talk about it in a separate video that I'll release next week. That's going to be just about the project, which is called Twistola, just because I know that everybody hasn't seen it yet. And so I'll do that as a separate video so somebody could choose not to watch it if they haven't gotten it yet. Although I think by that time it's okay to release it to everybody. And I'm excited to tell you the story behind the yarn that went into that kit, behind the goodie that went into that kit. There's lots to tell you about. So I'll share more about Twistola in a separate video next week. If you are a member of Lola's Choice and you have not gotten your kit or you didn't get a shipping notice and you can't track it, feel free to email me. I will help you. If you are somebody who is wondering what Lola's Choice is, I have put that link in the comments below. It's a fun kit club and I really enjoy doing it. And right now, I always talk about in these like what I'm knitting. And right now, what I'm working on is March's Lola's Choice kit. So I can't actually show you very much knitting. It's almost done. It's in the middle of being written up. It's getting ready to go to testers. Typically, as I'm shipping the previous month's kit, I'm working on the next shipment's design. It ships every other month. And I'm excited about this one. It's a departure. I'm spending too much money on the kit, which I do a lot. But it's something new. It's something new and fun. So I think we all could use something new. I did see that somebody's asking what I'm wearing, and I'm going to go over that in a second. I'll tell you all about it. Today I sent out an email. So if you don't get newsletters from me, I've just actually started a new thing where if you sign up for my newsletter and you don't get newsletters from me, you'll get a one-time 15% off discount coupon for patterns as a thank you for signing up for my newsletter. So if you haven't signed up for my newsletter, that link is also is always below. But in my newsletter, I announced that I finally got new kits in for Bottoms Up, which was a brioche sock that many of you might remember. This is the one where my tech editor told me I was absolutely crazy for doing this toe up sock where it has brioche on the toe and then brioche on the back heel. And I did just a white color to have really obvious contrast. And then a mini skein from Mitchell's Fiber Art Creations in the color Unicorns Can't Run Fast, or it's a name that starts with the word unicorns. And I decided, I always knew I wanted to do kits. So I chose 4 other colors that I absolutely love from Mitchell's Fiber Crafts. This one is called A Better Place, and this one's called Patina, and this one's called Pixie Dust. Look at Pixie Dust, is so cool. And this one's called Tutti Frutti. It's kind of like the lighter pink. And I matched them with solid colors from Leading Men Fibers Arts. These guys do an awesome job at dyeing. They're super quick. They're really they're set up for production. I absolutely love working with them, and their yarns are really nice. These actually turn out to be the same yarn base. I think they get them from the same supplier, so they match each other really well. So I put like an eggplant color with Tutti Frutti. And then let me see if I can get this right the first time. I put these 2 together. I absolutely love that combo. This one is A Better Place. And This one is Funky Cold Patina. This is the patina, and I put it with my favorite copper color because you guys know that this is like my color. You see my coat behind me clearly. This is my spirit color right here, right now. And then finally I did pixie dust with just like this awesome charcoal because I thought it like really played off the white really well. So there's 5 kits total in the shop. I ordered big. It takes like 2 or 3 months to get minis from Mitchell's Fiber Crafts. So look in your spam if you can't find that email, or just go to my Etsy shop. I put the link below this video for the kits. And then the other thing I snuck into the Etsy shop at the same time is more kits for Presto Cowlo, which I am wearing right now. I finally got more yarn from Jill, and I added 2 new colors. So now there's 6 colors in Presto Cowlo kits. They have really fun bead colors that go with them. You can see the beads on this. And I love this cowl for wearing inside. It's warm around your neck, but because it's got those lacy bits, it's still like I can still breathe. I don't overheat in it that easily. This is Ansel yarn, which is a New York State merino that's not superwash. And I absolutely love the stitch from Presto Cowlo. So I just wanted you guys to know about that. And then those of you who are asking, what I'm wearing right now is Tosca, and this is the tunic length Tosca in worsted weight. And I think this might be my 3rd or 4th day in a row wearing it, because I'll just back up so you can see it. It's long, and I'm doing a yoga challenge right now, so I can wear my yoga pants and my Tosca tunic, and my bum is covered, and it keeps me warm. But basically I can just stay in my yoga pants all day, which works really well for doing a yoga challenge and needing to make sure you're dressed comfortably for getting your yoga in. And I'll tell you guys a little more about that. I can see people doing some congratulations in the sidebar. So it looks like Laketta has a new baby in her family. That's exciting. I love hearing that. Oh, I'm not allowed to read the comments. I have to stay on track. Next thing up, because I'm releasing all these kits and we're doing all this knitting together, there is a knit along in my Ravelry group for any one of my 300 patterns that are out there and available. It's called the First Quarter KAL. We do it every year in my Ravelry group, or not every year, but this is the 8th year of the First Quarter KAL. And the prizes for January, we choose winners every Monday, and you are eligible to win a prize if you post a project with a photo and tag it correctly. And the January prizes are mugs. Those of you who were in the cast on pajama party on New Year's Day saw all 4 mugs. These are the 2 mugs that are left to win. This one is by my friend Renata, and this one is by a new to me potter. Her name is Gina Inzina. It's a beautiful tumbler. It's like a handleless mug. So these are still available to be won, which is pretty exciting. And then February's prizes are going to be bags. And I've already been shopping for the bags, and I think I'm going to make you guys a bag too, because I really love sewing lately. So those are the prizes. Please come join us in the knit along. It's really fun. I love seeing what's on everybody's needles. We have different winners. I don't actually choose the winners. Lois, who I believe, Lois is here. She's Sietsma on Ravelry. She's the one who chooses winners for me. She does a random number generator. It keeps me honest, and it keeps me like making sure I do it regularly, because otherwise I forget. So every Monday morning, Lois and I have a little email with each other and check in for the week, and she gives me the winner. So please come join us in the knit along. Very fun. In terms of everything else on my needles, you guys have seen the same thing. Like this is still at the same point it was on a month ago. It got ripped out once, and I got it back on track, and now I'm stuck again. And it is going to be a DK weight version of Hug You Me. You can see that it's kind of got a star snow flower flake in the center. And I'll bet you this won't be ready till summer, because I'm having a hard time knitting right now because of COVID. Basically, I can't have anybody help me in the studio. So Max my husband has been helping me a ton build kits, but it means that a lot of my like daytime where I maybe sit and knit and work on a new design, I've been in the studio building kits. And I'm about to find the balance again. I can feel it happening, but right now we're not. I work out of the house. My studio's in my house, and I'm not feeling comfortable until COVID gets more under control. Having anybody in the house right now, I think it's uncomfortable for them and it's uncomfortable for me. So all the mistakes that happen with kits are my fault. Basically, I can't blame it on anybody else but me because it's me and I'm not super good at it. The other thing I'm working on is just a swatch. And those of you in N Club last year will remember Love Fest, which was a poncho that had a lace panel coming up the center of it. And I want to work on a Love Fest t-shirt. And this is Essence of Autumn. It's a new yarn of hers that is a silk linen, kind of in between a lace and fingering weight yarn. I'm just trying to get that focused on there. I'm going to have her do solid colors. This will be like a summer tee. And we're going to do solid colors because the lace is getting completely lost in this. But this is just letting me see how the fabric is going to behave and get an idea for gauge and start to do math while she works on dyeing for me. So that's for the future as well. If you're in the N Club, that pattern is done. It is with a tester. I think it's almost finished with Justine. It's been tech edited. Photography is already done. It's I'm so excited to show it to you guys, and everything's on its way for me to build the kits for you. So that's happening. And then the other thing I've been knitting is swatches for a new class that I'm teaching. I'm launching a new class this weekend with Vogue Knitting Live. It is on brioche with beads. And what I decided to do for the class, I'm just going to show you guys quickly, is basically show you guys a brioche stitch and then look at how that brioche stitch would look if we pre-strung beads on the yarn and worked them into the stitch, and then how that same stitch would work if we placed beads instead of pre-stringing beads. And I'm doing that with 2 different stitches in the class in hopes that it will inspire students to look at other brioche stitches and add beads to them themselves. So that's my goal for that class, and I'm sure I'll be teaching it again in the future. I think if it's not already sold out, I think there's only 1 spot left. As of last night, there was only 1 spot left, so I'm pretty sure it's already sold out. And I am teaching a bunch of other classes in the next few months, and I always put those on my website. So if you go to my website and you click on workshops, you'll see where I'm teaching. And obviously, you guys, all the teaching is online right now. I'm not traveling at all. I'm home. For those of you signed up for going with me to Ireland in June, I've been getting emails wondering if you should buy your plane tickets. And I am telling everybody to just wait right now because I think it's very hard to know what is happening in June because right now Ireland is shut down like through March. So obviously, I don't think we should be buying plane tickets in this moment, and we'll work on that as we can. That is kind of all my knitting stuff. Kind of small, but lots of work happening. Lots and lots of work happening in the background. In terms of other stuff, over the holidays, a lot of you guys know we don't celebrate Christmas. I grew up Jewish, and my husband grew up in Russia, and they celebrate New Year's in Russia. So it's traditional for me over the Christmas holidays to kind of get like a big sewing project done where I can just really like get all into it because I'm not distracted with doing the Christmas holidays like I know many people are. So this year I finally sewed a coat that I wanted to sew for myself. This is the Sapporo coat. Sometimes people are surprised by my sewing, and I think it's important to remind you that I went to school for apparel design. So I learned how to sew at Cornell and spent 4 years learning basically all the tricks I needed to know for flat pattern making and tailoring techniques. And it's really fun a few times a year to apply them to my wardrobe. And I do make most of my wardrobe, not all of it, not really my exercise clothes. So this is the Sapporo coat by Papercut Patterns. I didn't change it too much. I ended up sizing it down. I did make a muslin and I sized it down a bit from the muslin. And it is yarn that I got when I was in Ireland at the Kerry Woolen mill. And then I lined it with some Liberty of London fabric that I ended up ordering from a place in the States. I had been looking to get it from the UK, but I found it in the States. It's got these awesome big pockets. In retrospect, I wish that I had lined it with some flannel, like did some flannel interlining on the inside, because it's not quite as heavy as I'd like it to be. So it's going to be a great like spring and fall coat, or early winter, late winter with a sweater underneath it. But it's a little light for like January in Ithaca, I gotta say. I love it though. And I actually realized that I have some lovely wool felt that I bought when I was in the city a few years ago at Mood. That's like this fat wool coating. And that would make an amazing winter Sapporo. And I love it enough that I might size it down a little bit and make one more, because I've got the pattern down and it wasn't super hard to sew. I would almost call it like I wouldn't call it a first sewing pattern, but it would be if you've knit a few sewing patterns and you're comfortable following sewing patterns, it was really well written. Somebody's asking where I got the Liberty of London. I'm embarrassed to say that in the end, the fabric I found that I liked the best was at fabric.com. They have, I don't always shop at fabric.com because I would much prefer to shop at a smaller fabric place, but I couldn't find any indie sewing stores that had the print that I wanted. And I ended up finding it from there. And they have a big selection at fabric.com. So sometimes that's the place I go to get my linings when necessary. I do have a local sewing store that's incredible. She just didn't have anything that spoke to me. The other things I'm going to sew at some point, I made a robe in December that I love, and I have wool fabric to cut out to make a wool one. I know I told you guys about that in the last log. Haven't done it yet. And then I want to make a few toaster sweaters from Papercut. I made 2 when I was making the coat, and I loved them and I wanted to keep them. And they looked so much like my friend Debbie that I actually sent her a picture of one of them and was like, do you have this fabric? And she didn't. And I just ended up giving them both to her because they just reminded me of her so much. So I have other fabric to make my own toaster sweater now. And I know one of you got a little inspired by my Sapporo coat. You're a weaver, Sue, and Susan Wolf is going to weave fabric to make her own. And then maybe she's going to weave me fabric so I can make another one. Right? Toaster sweater is a pattern. It's a sewing pattern. If you Google toaster sweater, you'll see the pattern for that. It's a very easy knit fabric top to sew. I know when I say sweater, you think that I'm talking about a hand knit sweater, but it's not. Sorry for any confusion. In terms of like entertainment, I have been growing amaryllises. And this is one of 2 amaryllises that I planted in November, right after Thanksgiving. I read that that's when you're supposed to plant your amaryllis bulb. And I can try and pick it up and show it to you guys more closely. This one is a stargazer amaryllis, and it's been really fun to watch bloom every day. We're having a pretty good time with it. This one actually got 4 blooms, and the last one hasn't opened yet. It's looking a little dry because we have forced air, and it is just dry in my house, so it's not like the most humid. I could use some spritzing every now and again, I think. And if you were in the pajama party, you saw that I had my phone on this because I was trying to do a time lapse of the flower opening. And it didn't end up working out because it was so dry that the flower tips were all connected together. And I ended up having to just like pop it open with my hands. Sorry, let me just put that down. So that was a failed experiment, but I've been really into plants, as you guys can tell, being at home and having something to nurture and watch grow, and just like a flower in the middle of winter. It's a fresh breath, a deep, fresh breath. Yeah. My cats don't touch my plants or my flowers because I would kill them pretty quickly. They would just get booted outside and not be able to live inside. They've learned what the rules are around here. other things I'm doing to entertain myself this long winter, because we have no snow and I'm not skiing right now, and that's sad. I'm doing a yoga challenge, yoga with Adrian. Typically in January does a 30-day yoga challenge, and actually I posted about it in our group Knit with Laura Nelkin on Facebook, and a bunch of people were excited to join me. So there's a few of us doing it, and every day when I do my daily yoga, I post over in that group, and other people who are doing it are posting or maybe saying they're taking the day off, and that's okay. And it's been keeping me honest. I've never done yoga this many days in a row before. What is it, the 13th? So I've done 13 days of yoga in a row, and actually loving it so much that I started a second challenge. The yoga with Adrian I like, but it's not quite as athletic as I'm used to my yoga being. So I added in a little bit more athletic, like 10-minute a day challenged. So I'm doing those both together, and it just keeps me on the mat a little longer and keeps me healthy and sane. Makes it so I don't have time to think. I'm going to fix my hair because my braid is falling. Talking very fast. So much to tell you. Reading. I have discovered the romance book genre, which is not surprising, actually, because you guys know that when I get to bed at the end of night, I like to escape. And I was a little embarrassed by it. And I was talking with a friend about it, and she was basically like, because she said this so well, I'm just going to basically paraphrase her and know that this is not my quote. She was like, well, some people are into like murder mysteries or police procedurals or dramas, right? And I'm more into boinking than I am into murder. And I was like, right? Me too. Like, reading about murder or that kind of crime solving is actually stressful for me. Something bad has happened. It doesn't calm me down at the end of the day. So I've found this romance genre. I read a book I loved called Red, White, and Royal Blue. And that is actually the book that kind of kicked it off for me. It's by Casey McQuiston. It's actually getting made into a movie this year. And it was a different, it's more of a love story. I'm going to say I'm liking love stories more than romance books, because romance sounds like dirty, or to me sometimes, and they haven't been that level. They've just had intimacy in them. And Red, White, and Royal Blue is about the first son. So there's a female president in the United States, and she has three 20-something kids. One of them is a son, and he falls in love with the Prince of Wales. So there's a lot of politics in it that was very well written, and it's very current and modern. And it was also a love story between two men, which I had not read before, and I really enjoyed it. So if you're somebody who likes that style of book, I would suggest it. And I would also say that the intimacy scenes were very comfortable to read for me. It wasn't awkward sauce, just to use my favorite terminology when I'm describing something. So that's a fun book if that sounds interesting to you. I am also reading The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. That is not in the romance love story genre. And I'm reading that for a book group that I'm starting to be in that is meeting around a bonfire in February, socially distanced from each other, to talk about it. And I'm really enjoying that book. I'm enjoying the premise of it. It was a little sad at the start because the main character decides that she no longer wants to be living, and that's hard to read. But the premise, as it gets deeper into it, I'm really enjoying as well. And then queued up, I have The Duke and I by Julia Quinn, because you guys all know that I loved watching Bridgerton this month, and I had no idea that it was a book series. So after watching Bridgerton, I could watch Bridgerton again. I think I'm going to listen to The Duke and I while I'm building kits. I think it's a great listen. It's read by a British narrator is the word I'm looking for, a British narrator. And I think that will be a fun listen. I had no idea that was a series, so I can go deep into that. And then after I finished watching Bridgerton, I switched gears entirely. And now I am watching a show on Netflix called Monarca that is basically about some drug cartels and a tequila distillery family in Mexico. And I listen to it two ways. Sometimes if I'm having to concentrate and I can't read the screen, I listen to it with English dubbing, and otherwise I'm listening to it in Spanish with subtitles because it's good for, I like to think I know how to speak Spanish. I do not know how to speak Spanish at all, at all. But I think it's good to do that to kind of like stretch that part of my brain and remind myself a bit about that language that I do love. And it's kind of it's like a telenovela, kind of drug cartel-y, a little bit violent, a little bit of love, a little bit of tequila, all it takes all the boxes right there. And then cooking wise, hardly cooking right now. I went food shopping a few weeks ago and I hit up the freezer section and did some damage in the freezer section of our local co-op and got some yummy treats. And we've been really enjoying those. So just so you guys know, I'm not always cooking and making things from scratch. I give myself big breaks. Tonight, I made the lentil soup that I included in the Knit Ithaca cookbook for those of you guys who were part of Knit Ithaca and got that cookbook. And I love that lentil soup. So that is our dinner tonight when we're done here. And I have kept chatting, and I know that I told you guys that I had an idea that I wanted to bounce off of you. And it's a big idea, and I can't decide if it's a good idea or a bad idea. And what I'm going to ask is, as I explain the idea, it is fine if you want to be commenting in the live chat, but I'm going to need to know what you really think about it in the comments below this video when this live is over. And I'm going to remind you of that again. So this is an idea that could be just too big. So I want you to be honest. I would love to know, as I give you the idea, if you think it sounds fun and you want to be part of it, or you just want to contribute to it and not be a part of it. That's okay. But I before I put a bunch into it, which I'm happy to do, I just was like, you know what? I'm going to bounce it off my people, see what my people think, because I really trust you guys. Okay, are you ready? Was that like a big enough build up right there? So this idea I had after October, when I did Cowltober, and we raised like over $6,000 just from selling my PDF cowl patterns on Ravelry and my website. And we raised a bunch of money for World Central Kitchen. And that felt really good. And I feel incredibly strongly that, particularly in this developing nation that this developed nation that we live in, that people not be hungry, and that we do what we can as citizens of our society to help feed our fellow Americans or fellow Canadians or people who World Central Kitchen also feeds people around the world, people who are struggling and hungry. You've heard me say that all before. So something I feel very strongly in. And then, who's seen the Gilmore Girls? I don't know. Do any of you guys remember in the Gilmore Girls, there was a episode where they did a knit-a-thon, and they knit for like 12 hours or 24 hours to raise money to build a bridge in their village? One day I was like, what if we did a knit-a-thon, but we were raising money for our food banks? Like, what if we all committed to knitting together for like 10 hours or 12 hours or 24 hours? And part of that commitment was raising money to donate to our local food banks. And kind of like in Ithaca, the Hospicare has this women swimming thing where women swim across Cayuga Lake, and people sponsor them to swim across Cayuga Lake, and they raise money for Hospicare, which is totally awesome. So Very similar idea. My concept would be that there would be like a Zoom happening for people who kind of want to be knitting together for some of the time. But basically, if you want to be a part of it, you would be helping to do the fundraising. Like you would be telling people in your community and your friends and family that you're doing a knit-a-thon and raising money to feed people and for food and hunger. And I would be doing the same. And it would be kind of really cool if we could get other designers on board or other yarn companies on board. Kind of the more people who know about it, the bigger that it would be. And all knit together, like just have the power of the knitters knitting together in the middle of winter. So I'm thinking if we could pull it together. Somebody just said, I'm reading over in the comments quickly. Bonnie said, would we have people sponsor us like a marathon? Exactly, Bonnie. It would be like a sports event, but for knitting and online. So we all get to stay home, which I think we like. And frankly, if we're all like, honey, I can't do the dishes today. I am raising money to feed America and I'm knitting, right? So the way that it could work, I've done some research. I've met with my local food bank and talked to their fundraising people. And then I've also had a meeting with Feeding America, which is the parent organization that that runs most of the big food banks that are in the US. So they have food banks all over the country. And I had been hoping we would be able to do it in this way where you would be raising money for your local food bank with your fundraiser. And there's a way to do that, but it's complicated because everybody has to set up their own fundraising page through their local food bank. And then you've got to get your information out to the people you're doing it with. Or there's a way that I can set up an event for us on something like Give Butter. And then we bring all of the money in through Give Butter and then disperse it. But it gets much more awkward to know where it's getting dispersed. And if we did it like that, we might end up just dispersing the money to Feeding America and let them disperse it to food banks as they see fit. And that's the place where I'm not an expert. I'm not a fundraiser. I am a human and a knitter who cares greatly. I'm not sure I want to become a fundraiser because, as you can tell, I already don't need any more on my plate. But those are the kind of things I'd like to hear what you think. And in the end, I'll make a decision. I'm probably going to bring a few other people on board to help me make a good decision about it. And I see Bonnie says she is a fundraiser. That's super helpful. Reach out to me, Bonnie. I think that there's a way to set this up that won't be too complicated. I think you could get your guilds involved. Like your guild could have a page and do it together, or your knitting group could have a page and do it together. And then we would kind of like have a Zoom. I think the way to do it, to have the Zoom, is like there would be a registration fee. Like typically if you're doing like biking around Cayuga Lake to raise money for AIDS of Tompkins County, I'm just thinking of a local fundraiser here, there's a minimum registration fee. So you're committing to raising like $200. And some people, what they do is they just pay the $200 instead of doing fundraising because they'd rather not do the fundraising. And I want to make that an option so that not everybody has to fundraise if they don't feel like fundraising. But I love the idea of having a central place. If I could clearly talk about this idea for hours. If we wanted to go bigger, we could call it a craftathon. We could still call it a knitting-a-thon, but like you could bring your crocheting or you could bring your sewing. There's no really big reason why it has to be just knitting. It could be like a make-a-thon. Now I'm getting way too big. So tell me what you think. I see people chatting in the live chat, and it's been really helpful for me to see those few questions and just like get an idea that you can hear me and you understand what I'm talking about. But in the comments below this, let me know what you think of the idea and a way you think it might work. And I'll kind of combine that all together and then decide if it's something that I can take on. I think I can on some level. I think there just might need to be more support to make it happen. And I know a lot of us have some free time right now. A lot of us are not as busy as we typically are. And wouldn't it be a great way to channel some of our pent up energy to help other people and still get to knit? I'm already thinking about like, could I get this far enough along that I could be knitting on it for those 12 hours and maybe it would be done? Or maybe I should just cast on like Elizabeth Zimmerman sweater for my husband. So I'm thinking about the important parts, like what am I going to knit during the knit-a-thon? And we don't even have a date yet. I am looking at my calendar, and I know I wouldn't want it to be a weekend that Vogue Knitting Live is, or that like any other big events are. So I'm kind of looking later in February. I don't worry so much about people traveling right now and missing it, because that shouldn't be happening anyway. And I hope people are staying home as much as they possibly can, and getting their vaccines when they are eligible for them, and staying sane. Because, guys, it's freaking crazy out there right now. And the next week is going to be intense. And I adore you guys. And I will see you hopefully over in our Facebook group or over on Ravelry and the Knit Along. And you know where to find me if you need me for anything. Again, a Fiberathon. I like that, Lynn. Thank you. So comments below. I'll also post this over in the Ravelry group to get ideas to kind of bounce stuff around, and then we will move it forward from there. And thank you so much for listening to me yammer away. I love doing these live instead of recording them. I like to record the stuff that needs to be more like, this is how you do a cast on. And I like to go live when I yammer. I appreciate you guys. Have a great night. It's so hard to hit the end stream, especially when you don't remember which mouse to use. Hugs to you all. Bye. Okay.